Hello everyone, welcome back to this series on American Computer Science League or ACSL. We will be going over the elementary division contest number 2, which is Prefix, Infix, Postfix. Prefix, Infix, Postfix is the second contest. All three of these, prefix, infix, and postfix, are ways to represent equations. When you plug a normal equation into a calculator, the computer inside changes the normal infix expression to postfix, which is easier to solve for the computers. That's just a fun fact, so now let's dive right in. So first of all, prefix is an equation notation in operand notation, This means that the operator or math symbol comes before the two operands or numbers. For example, 2 plus 2 would be written as plus 2, 2. So you can see the math symbol operator is before the two numbers, which are 2 and 2. Infix is the normal notation for math equations. We're normally looking at this, so usually you want to convert the other notations to this one to make it easier to solve because you know how to do this. It's way simpler. And now postfix is a notation which is an operator notation. In this format, the operator or math symbol is after the two operands or numbers. So 2 plus 2 would be 2, 2 plus. Computers prefer this notation on their calculator features, which just tells you how efficient it is. So first of all, let's start with converting notations. So we have a postfix expression here. We'll practice converting it into prefix and infix. We have a prefix equation, which we'll practice converting into infix and postfix, and an infix equation, which we'll practice converting to prefix and postfix. So let's start with the postfix equation. So first of all, you have to see that where is the operator format. So first of all, going from left to right, so right now there's two numbers. We have operand, and now we found another operand, so 7 and 4 are not paired together. And now after this, we find a multiplication symbol. This means that we can multiply 4 and 5 if we wanted to solve. But right now, we're not trying to solve, we're just trying to convert. So if we're converting to infix, let's start with infix. So first we put brackets around this area, and remember, the infix is operand. So this operator here, which is the multiplication symbol, will go into the middle of the 4 and the 5. So we have to keep it in brackets just to make sure that we don't mix it up, and we now know that this is converted. So now let's look again. Where do we see it next? 6, 3, multiply. So we can again do the same thing. Put this in a new set of brackets, and again the multiplication sign has to be moved into the middle of those two symbols. And now next we see 5, 5, divide. We can put that in brackets and move this into the middle. Now we've got this equation. So now we can move down. Remember, now all of these groups of symbols which are in brackets, they are counted as a whole operand. So they're not three separate symbols. So now our new equation would be 7 4 times 5, already converted, 6 times 3, already converted, minus power 5 divided by 5 already converted, and plus. So now where else do we see operand, operand, operator? Remember, the things in brackets are counted as a whole operand. So this, and then we see another one, and then a minus. So we can just move the minus sign into the middle of these, and now we can put brackets on either side to show that these two operands are now connected and that this whole section is now a single operand. So now where else do we see this? So this is one, and this is one, and now we have a symbol again, so this power sign will come all the way in between these two, and now we include the 7 with adding a new bracket, and now we have a huge operand, and now a smaller one, and now just a plus sign. So we can just move this into the middle over here, and in exchange for that we put this inside this whole thing, and now we can remove some of the brackets because some of them are just, we can remove the outer brackets because a lot of them are just to show that they are part of one group and one operand. So we can remove these because remember PEMDAS, so we don't need to stress about how it's going to be prioritized. That was just to show how it was going to be done. But over here I deleted a parentheses group that I shouldn't have. Can you find it? So over here, because remember this minus was done before this power, but powers come before subtraction in PEMDAS, so that means we have to make sure it's inside parentheses, which is the first priority, to make sure that it is done before this power sign. So now let's move back to our original equation and try converting it into prefix. So over here we had our equation. Now we have to convert it into prefix. So it's pretty much the same thing, but if you remember, prefix is in operator, operand, operand notation. So whenever we see a group of these, we will just switch the operator on the other side of the two operands. So this time it's just the same rule applies. So we see 4, 5 multiply. So we put the brackets, remove the multiplication sign, and this time it goes all the way to the front of the two operands. So now we have this whole thing, which is one group, one operand, and now we have 6, 3 multiply again. So we can do that again, and again we move the multiplication sign to the front of the two operands, and now we see that this is one operand, this is one operand, and now we have an operator over here. So this means we can remove this operator, move it all the way to the beginning, and then add a parenthesis just to say that this entire group from this bracket to all the way to this bracket is one operand. And now again we see 5, 5 divide. We put it in parentheses and add a division symbol before it. And remember, even though this may look like it's in the middle of them, this is a separate operator, it's not actually part of it. And now we see that this power symbol is after these two operands, this entire group that we just made and the 7. So we delete that, add another parenthesis just to show what's inside one operand, put a parenthesis on the other end, and over here we can add the power symbol. And now we're just left with a plus. Since we have these two operands, we can just remove it and put it directly at the beginning. And now, the good thing about prefix notations and postfix notations is, since it's written in operand, operand, operator, and operator, operand, operand format, which means it's very hard to find groups that you can solve for, we can just remove all of these parentheses because those were just there to show that it was in one operand. So we can just remove all of these directly, and this is the whole equation if we convert it from postfix to prefix. So now let's move on to converting this prefix one. So over here we have this minus multiply 9,3 plus divide 8,2 multiply 5,2. So first let's convert it to infix. Where do we see it first? Over here, multiply 9,3. So we put that into, we first write the minus over here, put that in brackets, and just write 9 times 3, and close the bracket. Now we have a plus, and now we have divide 8,2 over here. So that means, again, it's operator, operand, operand, so we can take the whole thing, put it in brackets, and write the equation as a normal one in infix. And now, again, we have multiply 5,2, so we can put brackets here, 5 times 2, and close the brackets. Now remember, these ones in brackets are operands of their own. So now this one also, so we can get this plus symbol, addition symbol, and put it all the way in here. And just to show that this is one whole operand now, we add some more parentheses. And now we can just add this into the middle. Since it's the last operand added, we don't really need to add more parentheses. We'll know. And now we can't really remove any parentheses because, remember, this plus addition sign was done before this subtraction sign, but since subtraction and addition are on the same level and the subtraction comes before it, it's more to the left, we have to keep these parentheses, otherwise it might go wrong. So now let's try converting it to postfix. So for postfix, it's the same thing, except you're moving it all the way to the end. So we write the subtraction. It's not really going to be doing much since there's another operator after it. So 9 times 3, which is the multiply 9,3 in infix. It's actually 9,3 multiply. And remember, we have to put it in brackets just to remember. When converting prefix to postfix or postfix to prefix, you don't really need to put these brackets if you can just use your pencil or something to mark down that this is one operand, because otherwise it might confuse you that, oh, you have a random parenthesis here. So you don't really need it, but right now I have to use it to show that this is one operand. Now we add a plus, and now divide 8,2. We just move the operator, which is the divide, to the end and add brackets. 8,2 divide, close the brackets. And now multiply 5,2 again. We do the same thing. 5,2 multiply, close the brackets. And now remember, the things in brackets are counted as one operand only, even though they are 3 symbols. So we can take this plus and move it all the way back to the end. And we have to use these parentheses just to show that it's in one group. And now over here we have one last subtraction symbol. We take it from the beginning and move it all the way to the end. And now, remember, this is postfix. Since it's in operand operator format, we just don't really need these parentheses. Those are just there to show you that they're one operand, just to group the symbols together. And now we got our answer. Minus multiply 9,3 plus divide 8,2 multiply 5,2 in prefix is equal to 9,3 multiply 8,2 divide 5,2 multiply plus minus in postfix. So now let's move on and let's convert this infix equation to prefix and postfix. Let's start with prefix. And this one doesn't have any parentheses, so we can just go straight into order of operations. If it had parentheses, we would get a bit complicated there because parentheses come first. But we can just go directly through with it. 2 multiply 8. We can go from left to right since they're not connected. And if you have something that shows a power like a small number at the top, and you're converting, you should always try to put a power symbol there so that you don't get confused. And so that you have an actual operator there. So let's start with 2 times 8. So remember, we put that in brackets to make sure that it's one operand, and we move the operator to the beginning since we're doing prefix. So it's multiply 2, 8. The plus isn't between 2 operators as of yet since we're going by order of operations. And 5 power 2. Also remember this, 5 power 2, it has a power exponent, so it comes before the multiply that I just did, but since it's not really doing much to influence the result of this, it doesn't really matter. We can still just put these in brackets and do power 5, 2. And now again, the minus is of lower precedence than the divide that we have coming next, so we just do divide 9, 3. And now we have nothing more left, so we start over again from left to right. And plus and minus, subtraction and addition have the same precedence, but we go from left to right. So first we'll move this addition to the beginning and then the subtraction. Notice I'm not putting brackets because it's not needed. It's only needed if you need to make sure that you're not messing up that it's actually a whole operand. So it's still pretty simple. You don't need to do that if you can remember what an operand, what are grouped already. So now we got our converted answer for this, and now we can start converting infix to postfix. So it's pretty much the same thing. Again, we have to move the operator to the end rather than to the beginning because it's postfix, not prefix. Again, we don't need to do the multiply first, but we can since it doesn't influence the result of this power. So 2, 8 multiply, and we can just put it in parentheses to make sure that we don't get confused. And now a plus and 5 power 2. Put it in parentheses and it becomes 5 to power. And now again the minus will come here because it's of lower precedence than the divide, and 9 divided by 3, we're converting to postfix, so get brackets, 9, 3, divide, and again, since it's an infix, we go from left to right and see where is operand, operator, operand. So we see this in the middle, this is operator that's in the middle, so we can move it here. And I don't need to put brackets here because I know I just have to move this to the end. And now I don't need brackets anymore. Those are just, again, to separate the operands. So now we got our answer. For 2 times 8 plus 5 power 2 minus 9 divided by 3 in postfix is 2, 8 multiply 5 to power plus 9, 3 divide minus. So now let's move on to evaluating the prefix, infix, and postfix. So for infix, I'm not going to go over it because we just need to use PEMDAS and normally solve it. You don't really need to go into that. It's pretty simple. So now over here, if you want, you can convert it straight to infix and then solve it from infix, which I don't really need to go over because that's pretty simple. I just went over the conversion, and and then solving the infix is very simple. I'm going to show you how to directly convert this into an answer without going from infix and then getting the answer. And then I'm going to show you a quicker way, if you can understand it, called stack method. But first, let's start with this. We have a postfix problem and a prefix problem. If you remember, these are the same ones that we use for conversion, but this time we're evaluating it. So this one, let's start with this. So first, we look where are the things that are in operand, operand, operator notation, which is these right here. So we can directly, if you know 4, 5 multiply, which is postfix, can easily be converted into 4 times 5. So 4 times 5, here we just directly solve it because that's the highest precedence. It's the earliest and there's no power or parentheses, so we just 7, and then here is the difference. We don't go directly to infix, which is 4 times 5. We just write 20 over here and put it in brackets to show that it's already solved. And now again, we go 6, 3, multiply, and we can just put these in brackets and write that it's 18 because we know 6, 3 multiply in postfix is 6 times 3. So we can just do this, which is very simple. And now we continue. We get a minus, then a power, and now 5, 5 divide. 5, 5 divide is postfix 4, 5 divided by 5. So that we can just move this entire thing into 1. And now we have a plus at the end. And now, next thing that's in operand, operand, operator, we have 20, 18, and minus. So we get this entire thing. 20 minus 18 is 2. And now, next thing over here, we can see 7, 2, and power. So 7 power 2 is 49. And now we have a plus, an addition symbol. We can just do 49 plus 1, very simple maths. So we know that this is 50. It's very simple. We can just convert it that way into the answer. Or if you are having trouble understanding this method, like I said earlier, you can just convert it directly to Infix, which makes it far easier to solve. Now let's do the prefix problem. So first of all, we again find the operator, operand, operand notation, which is the first one here. And since multiply and divide are the highest precedence operators that come in this equation, we just go from left to right. So first we just write the subtraction symbol, and then we put it in brackets, 9 times 3, since we know easily how to convert small equations like that. 9 times 3 is 27, and there we can just continue doing the same thing, plus, and now we get divide 8 2, which again, very simple to convert. 8 divided by 2, we can put it in brackets and make it 4. And now again, multiply 5 2, just becomes 5 times 2, which is 10. We can just put that in brackets just to show that it's been solved. So now again, we start back from the beginning. We have a subtraction first this time, but after 27, there's no other operator, so we just go over here. This plus 410, which is just 4 plus 10, so we can make this 14 and remove all of this. And now all we have to do is do the math. 27 minus 14 is 13. So it's pretty simple way how to get your answer. So multiply 9 3 plus minus 8 2 multiply 5 2 in prefix is equal to 13. And now I will show you the stack method, which is very simple. You just have to go from the bottom, and it's called stack because we stack the numbers on top of each other. So first let's start with postfix, which is simpler. This is why computers like it, because it's very easy to solve. So we start stacking all of the numbers on top of each other from left to right. Over here you can see it starts with 7, and then 4, and then 5, and so on. We're using the same equation, so we do 7, then keep stacking, 4, then 5, and now we have an operator, which is multiply. And since we have 2 numbers before that, we can just remember this. If it's a divide symbol or something, we do the bottom one first, then the operator, and then the top one. So it just becomes 4 times 5, which is 20. We remove the 2 operators, and we remove 2 operands and the operator. And now we pick up where we left off. We have this multiply over here in this one. So next is 6. So 6, then 3 is on top, and we're stacking. And now multiply. Again, it's 6 times 3 since we do the bottom one first, which is 18. And now after 18, there's just a minus if you're following this equation on the side. After this 6 times 3, there's a minus subtraction sign. So this is minus. So we can just do 20 minus 18. Like I said, we have to get the bottom number out of those 2 operands, and then the operator, and then the other number. So this becomes 2. And after that, we have a power. And again, 7. And then we move back up to this power, and then this 2. So 7 power 2 is 49. And now 5, another 5, and then divide. So now 5 divided by 5 is 1. And now we just have an addition sign. 49 plus 1, very simple, becomes 50. So in Postfix, to sum up, when you're using stack method, you just stack all the numbers on top, and when you have an operator on the top of two operands, you do the math from the two closest operands to it. And now let's do the method with prefix, which is a bit more complicated. So with prefix, what you have to do is you could stack it from the top, which would help and make it pretty much the same, or you could stack it from the bottom. It doesn't really matter. Basically, if we stack it from the top, it'll be the same thing, like we use the same equation, minus multiply 9 3. So it only helps because now we just do top and bottom. Or if you want to do the normal way like we did in the postfix one, which means we just do it the normal way. So let's just start with that. Minus multiply on top, and then 9 and 3. And here's where you have to make sure when you stack, this isn't, so basically the one difference is it's the same thing, but this time you're stacking the two operands after the operator, so it's harder to notice. So we just do 9 multiplied by 3. We still start with the bottom one, with the lower one, so 9 multiplied by 3 is 27. So next, after that, we have an addition sign. Pretty straightforward, and divide, and then 8 and 2. And now again, you might notice now we have 8 and 2 above this divide. So we start with this 8 and then this 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And after that, we have a multiplication symbol. After the multiplication symbol, we have a 5 and then a 2. Sorry, 2, not 3. So now we have again stacked two operators on top of an operand. Sorry, two operands on top of an operator. So we just remove all of this. 5 times 2 is 10. And now, even though we're done with the equation, notice we have now, since remember before there was a multiplication sign above the 4, but now since we've solved that, now we have a 10, 4, and a plus, so we can just turn that all into a 14. And now that we've solved that, remember how there was a plus above the 27? Now it's become a 14, so now we can just do 27 minus 14, which is very simple. So the answer is 13. So this is a simpler way to do it. If you don't understand, you can always do the first method. And that's it for today. Here's an extra challenge for you guys to answer in the comments. Evaluate the following expression. It's plus minus power 4 2 divide plus 9 6 5 divide 8 minus 7 5. Remember to post your answers in the comments and keep practicing, and stay tuned for the next video. It'll be on the third contest, which is Boolean algebra. So that's it for this video, and see you in the next one.